Welcome to Small Insight, Big Impact, where we explore how small actions can create wave of change. I am Dr. David Tsetse, and in our last episode, we looked deeply into illegal mining in Ghana, popularly called Galamsey, and how it's transforming the Ghanaian environment and communities. Today, we will shift our focus from the problem to some practical actions that can be taken to stay safe, protect your families, and also restore the environment around you. We all know that government action is crucial, but it takes time. More importantly, real change begins where the problem lives. So, let's begin. As you may have seen, read, or heard, the rivers in Ghana are once were clear, turned brown, fish is gone, the ecosystems are threatened, and if not gone, and there are issues of healthcare-related problems that have been reported and attributed to illegal mining across the country. These are not coincidence. Mercury and other mining chemicals from illegal mining contaminate water, air, and soil, and even the food we eat. But there's hope. There is political commitment to address the situation. And again, I say political commitment, not will, because the political commitment sort of gives a results-oriented approach to accountability and clear actions. All the reports that we have on air, on the media, in my view, tend to create a bit of fear and a sense of uncertainty among people in the country. But I just want to assure you that you don't need to be afraid. Stay calm. This too shall pass, just like other times. But more importantly, this crisis can be managed. And I say can be managed because it's been done elsewhere. Technologies have been implemented, or proven technologies have been implemented to address the situation. So be rest assured that this is a problem that can be managed because it's been done elsewhere, but it will take time. I'll give you an example where countries have used photo-stabilization and photo-remediation technologies and the application of lime and phosphate to deal with their contaminant. A case in example, it's the Copsa project in Romania and then the Sudbury Regreening project in Canada. These are, I would say, good examples where contaminated water bodies and soils have been successfully reclaimed. With the Romania project, that one has been closed, but that for Canada, the Sudbury one is still ongoing, started in 1978. So again, this is manageable. But I just want to share with you one key example, I would say a flagship example where it's been successfully managed that gives hope. That's the Clark Fork River Superfund site in Montana in the U.S. This project has been successfully managed from 1983 to 2020. And essentially what they've done is they've been able to clean the soil, water, in an area that covers 6.6 million cubic meters. So you can imagine that has been successfully done with a budget running in billions of dollars. And what did they do? What they did was to excavate and cap tailings around where these things have been done, went into constructed wetlands to be able to trap the metals in the water body. Again, they also employed photo stabilization with native grass to do all that. So all I'm trying to say is it is possible, it can be solved, and it should be. So we shouldn't lose hope in terms of the way we are going. I think the government is on the right track, and with all hands who have to be on deck to support what they are doing. I take this opportunity to urge water, air, sanitation, and mining technical expertise in the country, academic institutions, professional bodies, like the Ghana Institute of Engineers, Ghana Institute of Surveyors, the Ghana Institute of Geoscientists, CSIR, and its institutes, EPA, to join in the media advocacy around Galamsey, because this will help reduce the misinformation and disinformation that is happening, because this is where clear technical discussions will have to be tabled, and proven technologies adopted or piloted on a large-scale basis to be able to use that to address. I also want to summon a caution on the use of new technologies, lab-based. That's why they are called lab-based, the whole process that will bring it to scale. So again, I want to believe my colleagues, technical colleagues, who will join the discussion and be more active in the media houses to present not only their own technical positions, but the positions for the institute that they work for. That's very, very important in this discussion going forward. And then there's also been a lot of calls around arresting the so-called kingpins of the Galamsey. But we also have to bear in mind that these so-called kingpins rely on technical advice and technical input to be able to do what they do. So that's an area that will have to be looked at. What advice are they getting, and from which source are they getting the advice, to be able to know the good mineralization areas, and also in terms of going about the different activities throughout the whole chain. So that is something that we need to look at, and with that we'll be able to find, I would say, maybe an enforcement solution towards that aspect of. So it's not only the kingpins, but the technical expertise, providing technical advice for these activities to continue going itself. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to present just very simple actions that you can take at your level, because we all know that government action takes time, as I pointed out earlier. And so you should be able to do something to be able to deal with the situation. So I'm going to lay out a few points for you to take home. But first, you have to remember that there are different types of pollutants. We have the organic pollutants, and we have the heavy metals, and we have the suspended solids. So these are different pollutants that require different levels of treatment. So you have to bear that in mind. The first action that I would advise you to take is just avoid using these contaminated water. I know that is a difficult situation for people who live in these areas. So, but that is one thing you have to try and avoid. If you can't avoid that, then what you need to do is to make sure you have a good storage container or a good storage system. Because what you have to do first of all is to reduce the turbidity in the water, and you require the process of sedimentation to take place. So you have to have a container where you collect the water, allow it to stay for some time so that the sediments will settle to reduce the level of turbidity for some time. So that's one thing you need to do. And there are processes that you can use to speed up your sedimentation process. There are chemicals like alum, but I leave that to the technical expertise. Reach out to any water expert or any other science teacher around you. They should be able to help you provide the right dose if you want to speed up. So first, you have to make sure the water settles, takes time to settle, so that some of the particles will reduce the turbidity level. And then, if that is done and you want to be able to kill the pathogens and then the other organic materials in the water, you can choose to boil it or not boil it. So that is just for the organic pollutants. So don't mistake this for the heavy metals. This can be done before or after the next option I'm going to talk about. So just keep that in mind. And then you just need to know what you are doing. First of all, if it is possible, get a small testing kit, maybe in terms of color code, just to be able to know the pH, the different contaminants that you have in the water that you've collected. These kits are not that expensive, I must say, and I'm sure if you get in touch with a pharmacy that is close to where you live, you should be able to get a simple one. But if you cannot afford that, that is also fine. That is not the end of the world. But then after that, after you've gotten the water settled for a while in a container, then what you need to do is to use, I recommended in my first post that you use an activated carbon filter. Why? Because this filter is known to trap the heavy metals and reduce the concentration of them in the clean water. Not to take everything, I must stress that. So then you use your activated carbon filter to filter the water. The use of an activated carbon would depend on the inlet concentration. So again, there's a lot of information on the internet, or you can contact your local science teacher or somebody who is into science. They should be able to explain that to you and guide you throughout the whole process. But there are local ways to also produce your own activated carbon. You can have pre-designed activated carbons in the market, carbon filters in the markets to buy off-shelf designs. That's good. But if you can't afford that and you want to build your own one, that is also possible with the help of one or two science professionals. But first, I just want to take you through how to design a local, very basic activated carbon filter based on the materials around you. So what the main purpose of the activated carbon is to trap the heavy metals. So what you need to do, there are 4 main steps that you have to do. And the main resource for building or designing activated carbon are sort of coconut shells, palm kernel shells, and then sand and gravel. So these are the main, I would say, items that you need. And of course, the container. If it's a bucket, if it's a drum, you need all these. So these are and I think you can find those all around you, especially in areas where we have severe crisis of the situation. So the first step is you want to create or make charcoal through the process of carbonization. So that is what you want to do. So you collect all these, let me use coconut shell as the main source of it. And then you collect all the coconut shells, and if that's what you have, and then you clean them up, and then you heat them into charcoal. You heat them in a way that you're able to make charcoal, but you have to be mindful not to produce ash. So that's one guide. So you need to make sure you heat them to be able to get charcoal out of it. And the charcoal should be the size of sort of like a maize grain or something that, but not ash in that ash form. So after you've done that, what you need to do now is you need to be able to sort of activate the carbon in the charcoal that you've actually produced. The idea here is to open up pores in the charcoal, create, so that they'll be able to trap impurities when water passes through. So you have to heat that charcoal again in a low oxygen container, and then, sometimes up to 600 degrees Celsius, depending upon what temperature you have, so that you have additional, or the pores in the charcoal will be opened up so that the heavy metals can be trapped in it. You can also allow the charcoal to stay overnight by either adding lime or salt water before you heat them again. So after you've done that and gotten your activated carbon material, then you get to the stage of assembling the filter itself. That's where you need your container, if it's a bucket or it's a drum or whatever. At this stage, I would advise throughout this whole process, it would be good to speak to a water engineer or a science teacher or somebody who has done a similar task before to guide you throughout the process, because there are different requirements or factors that affect the efficacy and the performance of your activated carbon filter. So what you need to do, after you've gotten a container, depending upon your design parameters, again, based on the advice of your local science teacher or the water engineer, you need clean cloth, and then you create layers of gravel, sand, and then the activated carbon in your container. And then you have another container where the collection chamber, where you have your water that you can collect. So that is the hope. And normally after that, you should be able to get your clean water in the collection chamber. But remember to always boil it, test the quality of the water that you get out of the activated filtration process to know the different levels of chemicals and organs. Again, just to be clear, the activated carbon will not remove all the chemical contaminations, but it will dramatically reduce the turbidity and odor and some of the heavy metals. So this is a recommended solution, household solution for you. For those who can afford to buy the off-shelf solutions, activated carbons, I would advise that you buy a design activated carbon that you can fit in your house, at the inlet of your house, if you are connected to an inlet water source from the Ghana Water Company. These filters come in different forms and shapes, so again, your water engineer or whoever is into this field should be able to guide you. The idea of installing the activated carbon at your inlet, it's to ensure that every water that comes into your house, is filtered through the activated carbon. So water for bathing, water for cooking, and then water for drinking. That is if you can afford and you are connected to the distribution line. If you are not, it's also good to buy the off-shelf solutions that are sort of prepared in containers, depending upon your daily consumption of water, and then and for either drinking, cooking, or bathing. As I've said earlier, I suggest you contact an expert to help you decide on the best option, because the performance of these activated carbon filters depend on several factors, such as the type of carbon that you use. Remember, I talked about the materials like coconut, kernel, and others. So it depends on the type, and then the properties of these carbon, the carbon properties, and also the flow rate and inlet concentration, which is very important. If you have a very high turbid water, the likelihood that you have a very low performance of a filter, it's high. So that is also one thing. The temperature of the water and then the pH are also very critical in determining the performance of a good activated carbon filter. So that is a simple solution that you can implement at your level with the advice and guidance of people into science, and also there are a lot of resources available online that you can search and then use as a guide. I want to move to the next step, knowing very well that water is only one part of the picture. We all agree that the environment is made up of air, soil, and water. So now I would like to touch on the impact that Galamsey it's having on our health and our food systems, and also the environment, the soil, and what actions can you take at your level. With regards to how I will advise you to avoid bathing or swimming in contaminated waters around you, because you don't know the concentration of these toxins. So stay away from them, and if possible, reduce the amount of contact that you come with them. And the second thing, as we all know, is always wash your hands, wash food before you clean. That is one of the key basic things that we all have to do. This is not to say it will take away everything, but at least it will help reduce and prevent some of the impact that these heavy metals and other pollutants will have on you. It is also very important to keep children away from the open pits. You have to, all these places that are identified as illegal mining sites, it's good to cordon those places so that people don't easily fall in them, or they are not collapse that will lead to either death or injury. So these are just practical things that you can do. With regards to food, fish, and that's something that fish, it's one of the main carriers of these heavy metals in rivers. So if you live in those areas where you have, you eat a lot of fish, I would say you should pay particular attention to where your fish is coming from, and if possible, get to know, do a bit of analysis, or get people to tell you how safe that the fish is. So that is one thing I would draw with regards to fish. It's something you have to, because especially if it's coming from the known rivers that we know that are polluted with the heavy metals, you should stay away from them. And also wash your vegetables, as I said earlier on, before cooking or even baking them. With regards to the environment, I would say you should just continue planting your trees if you've started. If you've not, get into that practice, especially on the old mine sites. And more importantly, it would be good for one or two of you to get yourselves together as a group to see how best you can address or monitor what is happening around you with regards to illegal gold mining. Report suspicious activities to law enforcement or to NIMO, so that they'll be able to take the appropriate actions. Because you have the right to do that, and I'm sure law enforcement and others will have a way of responding and helping deal with this situation. When communities and people take ownership and begin to speak up illegal gold mining, I am very confident the miners themselves will start listening, in as much as that is what is giving them their daily livelihood, because they see local action at work and leadership also in play, and not just the enforcement side of it. So I would suggest that you continue doing your small bit at your household level and also at the community level, and keep taking advantage of every avenue that you have to either voice your concerns or contribute positively to the discussions to find solutions to the problems that illegal mining is causing around you. The fight against illegal mining is not only about stopping mining that we all know, it's about protecting people, the air, water, and soil that we have. That's the resources that we need to make sure we leave it in good shape for the future generation. So when people and communities are empowered to act locally, they become the strongest defenders of their environment. So I urge you to continue defending your environment. Thanks for joining me again on Small Insights and Big Impact. If you find this episode useful, share it with your family, friends, community, and institutions. Remember, big change begins small, but it begins with you. Until next time, protect your air, your land, and your water. All right.